Before the first basket was even scored, one regular season WNBA game had already turned into one of the league's biggest controversies of the year. A pair of teenage fans walked into the arena carrying signs, thanking Indiana Fever guard Sophie Cunningham. Minutes later, they were at the center of a confrontation involving a Seattle Storm co-owner. Within 2 days, the league stepped in with discipline, social media exploded with debate, and what should have been a basketball game became a national conversation. But the biggest surprise wasn't the confrontation itself. It was how one player's response ended up changing the entire story. For weeks leading up to that night, Sophie Cunningham had already found herself in the middle of a debate that reached far beyond basketball. During an interview, she was asked about fairness in women's sports and whether biological females should be protected in girls' and women's competitions. Instead of avoiding the question, Cunningham gave her opinion directly. She also stressed that she wasn't speaking from hatred and said she believed everyone deserved love and respect, while explaining why she felt strongly about protecting opportunities for girls in sports. That answer spread across social media almost instantly. Supporters praised her for saying what they believed many athletes were afraid to say publicly. Critics argued they strongly disagreed with her position. Within days, sports shows, podcasts, political commentators, and fans from every corner of the internet were discussing a player who just weeks earlier had mostly been making headlines for basketball. Suddenly, Cunningham wasn't just another WNBA player. She had become the face of a conversation much bigger than the league itself. And once that happened, every appearance she made attracted more attention than before. That growing spotlight followed the Indiana Fever to Seattle. Outside the arena before tip-off, small groups of demonstrators gathered. Some were there because they supported Cunningham's comments. Others disagreed with her stance entirely. While the demonstrations remained peaceful, the atmosphere surrounding the game felt noticeably different from a typical regular season matchup. Inside the building, thousands of fans were preparing for basketball, but a completely different story was about to unfold. Among the crowd were 2 teenage girls who had made signs reading, "Thank you, Sophie, for speaking up for girls." According to the girls' later accounts, their goal wasn't to insult anyone or provoke an argument. They said they simply wanted to show support for a player whose comments they appreciated. For a while, nothing unusual happened. They watched the game, cheered from their seats, and held their signs. Then everything changed. The girls later said an older woman approached them and started asking questions about the signs. At first, they believed it would be a normal conversation. Instead, they described the interaction as becoming increasingly tense. According to their accounts, the woman criticized them over the message on the signs and made comments they found upsetting. One of the girls later said she ended up in tears because she never expected a basketball game to turn into such an emotional confrontation. At that point, very few people inside the arena realized what had happened. But outside that section of seats, the story was only beginning. Soon afterward, reports began circulating online that the woman involved wasn't just another fan. She was identified as Celeste Keaton, a minority co-owner of the Seattle Storm. That revelation completely changed how people viewed the incident. If accurate, this wasn't simply an argument between spectators. It involved someone connected to the ownership of a professional sports franchise confronting teenage fans during a game. As clips, eyewitness accounts, and interviews spread online, reactions poured in from every direction. Some believed the girls should have been left alone to express support for a player. Others argued the broader debate surrounding Cunningham had already made emotions unusually high. Regardless of where people stood, one thing became impossible to ignore. The conversation was no longer about the final score between the Fever and the Storm. It had become about how fans should be treated inside professional arenas, and whether team officials have a responsibility to avoid personal confrontations with spectators. Within hours, the story had escaped the sports world. News outlets picked it up. Podcasts began breaking it down. Social media feeds filled with arguments over what really happened and who had crossed the line. Then another question started gaining momentum. If someone connected to team ownership had confronted fans, how would the league respond? That answer would arrive much sooner than anyone expected. But before the WNBA made its decision, Sophie Cunningham finally broke. Nobody knew exactly how the league would respond, but one thing was certain: the story wasn't fading away. Every hour, new reactions flooded social media. Sports commentators weighed in, fans dissected every available video. And before long, what had started as a disagreement inside one arena had become one of the biggest talking points surrounding the WNBA. the attention quickly shifted toward the Seattle Storm organization. Many fans weren't just asking what happened, they wanted to know how the team would handle it. After all, if the reports were accurate and someone connected to the team's ownership had confronted teenage spectators, this wasn't an ordinary fan dispute anymore. For nearly 2 days, speculation filled the gap before any official decision arrived. Some believed the league would quietly move on. Others predicted disciplinary action was inevitable. As the debate intensified, every hour without a clear response only added more fuel to the conversation. Then the WNBA finally stepped in. The league announced that Seattle Storm minority co-owner Celeste Keaton had been fined an undisclosed amount and suspended from attending the team's next 5 home games. It was a rare moment. Professional sports leagues don't often discipline members of ownership, making the announcement immediately stand out. For some fans, the punishment showed the league recognized the seriousness of the situation. Others argued it didn't go far enough, questioning whether a suspension alone addressed the concerns surrounding the incident. No matter which side people supported, the decision guaranteed the story would remain in the headlines. Not long after, the Seattle Storm released a public statement apologizing for what had happened. The organization said every fan should feel welcome at its games and emphasized its commitment to creating an inclusive environment. Even then, reactions remained divided. Some praised the apology as the right first step, while others believed it should have been more direct and detailed. Instead of calming the conversation, the statements created another wave of discussion. People weren't only debating the incident anymore, they were debating the response. Could the situation have been handled differently in the arena? Should security have intervened sooner? Should the organization have addressed it immediately instead of waiting until the following days? Those questions kept circulating, ensuring the controversy stayed at the center of basketball conversations. But while everyone focused on league discipline and team statements, another voice remained noticeably quiet. Sophie Cunningham hadn't said much at all. That silence led to even more speculation. Would she criticize the Storm? Would she demand stronger punishment? Would she avoid the topic completely to keep the focus on basketball? When she finally responded, almost nobody predicted the direction she would take. Rather than escalating the conflict, Cunningham posted a message emphasizing respect for everyone involved. She wrote that she believed there was room for kindness even when people disagreed, and that everyone deserved love and dignity. At the same time, she praised the teenage fans for standing up for what they believed and indicated she planned to reach out to them personally. That response surprised a lot of people. Supporters viewed it as measured and compassionate. Critics continued to disagree with her broader views, but acknowledged that her statement avoided personal attacks. Instead of adding more heat to an already emotional debate, Cunningham chose a calmer tone. Ironically,